we're in a period of growth. Economies follow cycles. We haven't got the crystal ball to know how long this period of growth is, but of course the UK is the growth engine for Europe at the moment. We have an opportunity in the marketplace right now in order to be able to capitalise on the demand and set our business up for the next phase of growth. For the next phase of our business's growth. You need to build capacity in order to be able to do that. So some ideas that will help you. The final kind of point that came up that I wanted to share with you was this important one that comes up time and time again, and it's about time. There's one thing that successful people in business and in life are brilliant at, is that they are ruthless with their time. They're very good at one two-letter word, no. They're very good at one two-letter no, because every time you say yes to somebody else's goals, you're saying no to your own. Every time you say yes to somebody else's goals, you're saying no to your own. Probably the single best piece of information or help I've come across in this area recently, a book I've read and listened to, is called The One Thing. It's called The One Thing. Highly recommend it. And the simple premise of the book is that we actually should focus on one thing at once. At last, it puts to bed this whole notion about multitasking. So let's be honest, the guys of us in the room know that apparently we're no good at multitasking. We've learned to accept that over time. But the author does several studies in the book, and they've taken people that are self-proclaimed brilliant multitaskers and people that are saying, I am no good at multitasking. And they've given them several studies to do, sets of work to do. So the multitaskers could do it in whatever order that they want, and then the other group just do one thing, get it completed, do another thing, get it completed, etc. Every single time they did the study, no matter where in the world they did the study, that the individuals, the group that did one thing at once and then the next and the next, outperformed in terms of speed and quality the multitaskers. We're not meant to multitask. We're not designed, we're not built to be able to do that. Now, most of us probably conduct our life using things like to-do lists. Who here will use to-do lists of one form or another, whether electronically or written down? Anybody else have this experience? As soon as you tick off one or two things and get that momentary elation, yes! And then you notice 3 or 4 more have come on? Yeah? As you get these ever-growing lists of things to do, what emotional state does that bring up in us? Chuck it out, yeah. Frustration. Yeah, what else? What are the words to describe the emotional state? Stress. What else? Overwhelm. And what's the human response to overwhelm? Give up. We give up. We do nothing. The human response to overwhelm is we do nothing. So it's not always working. And the other thing about the to-do list is we get focused too much in on task. We get into the thick of thin things. Hey, you're not going to get a valuation on your business at the time when you want to exit your business based on how many emails you've sent or how quickly you've responded to those emails. Your valuation on the exit of your business, if that's what you choose to do, will be based on how much you've moved the dial on key strategic things that make the difference in your business. So the premise of the book, The One Thing, basically says, get clear in your mind, what's the one thing you need to do this day that will move the dial in your business? What's the one thing you need to do this week, this month, this quarter, and this year? It's a process, it's eloquently described as chunking up, but this process is that instead of us getting overwhelmed by volume of little things, let's focus on the bigger things that are going to make the difference. And when you do, I know absolutely clearly what my one thing is for my month. I know clearly what my one thing is for my quarter, etc. And I charge around all over the country, a lot of time travelling and doing events like this, a lot of moving parts, but it gives me a lot of certainty and clarity where I know that's the one thing I've got to do over and above everything else. I work with clients on my W Business program. They come to me and they get the phone and this has gone wrong and this has gone wrong and they can't get that right. And I go, okay, let's get clear. This is your one thing for this month. Let's get that bit. Let's get our systems bit bottomed. Next month, we're going to be talking about lead generation and conversion and sales growth. It really helps us. There's something else. When we get overwhelmed, we switch off. When we get stressed or anxious and worried, the brain circuitry changes. And the brain signals remap and they go to the limbic portion on the brainstem, the mammalian part or limbic part of the brain. The first to develop in evolutionary terms that has arguably got 2 or 3 responses: fight, flight, or freeze, rabbit in the headlight freeze. If we want to be able to come up with creative ideas and alternatives, if we want to come up with, be able to rationally evaluate competing alternatives, we need to be able to access the cerebral cortex, the top of our heads. And we can only do that when we're calm. So if we're spending time to think and to plan, coming up with our strategic plan, that when the heat gets on, all we need to do is take the next step, follow the next step, follow that plan. And by focusing on one thing, and then the next thing, and the next thing, then that can really help. So focus on one thing each day, each week, each month, each quarter that will move the dial in your business, and then block out time, that piece that I led with at the beginning this morning. Parcel out time in your diary with you've got no phone interruptions, no email interruptions, nobody knocking on your door, and focus in on those important projects, completing that proposal for a new client, working out your strategy, getting your job spec together for a new employee, whatever that might be. Were those ideas useful, helpful? Yeah.